The calorie model of weight gain and loss is flawed. You've been told that it's all about calories in versus calories out, but I'm here to say that that's one of the biggest lies in the fitness space. What actually controls your body composition is your hormones, not just a caloric math equation. In this video, I'm going to give you 3 scientific proofs to show you that calories are not the determining factor for fat gain or loss, and why what you eat matters far more than how much you eat for your overall body composition. The first scientific proof that shows that the calorie model is flawed is something called de novo lipogenesis. De novo lipogenesis is a fancy sounding Latin term which quite literally translates to the beginning of fat or new fat, if you will. And to understand it, we have to rewind a bit and talk about glucose and its interaction inside the body. You see, when we eat carbohydrates, that is in our body transformed into something called glucose. This glucose then enters our blood. You may have often heard of the term blood glucose. That's what it means, the glucose levels inside your blood. So your body tries its very best to get that glucose out of the blood. And one of the first things it does is it sends that glucose to the liver. And the liver can only hold so much. So any excess that's beyond the liver's capability is then stored in the muscles. But similarly, the muscles can only hold so much as well. A little bit more than the liver, but still not that much overall. So in the end, if you still have an excess amount of glucose in your blood, which you often do because the liver and the muscles cannot hold that much, that excess level, those excess glucose molecules or whatever are basically stored as fat. There's no other place for it to go other than your fat stores. So something you may or may not have noticed in that explanation is that de novo lipogenesis does not care at all about calories. It only cares about glucose, specifically how much glucose can fit in your liver, in your muscles, and what the body is going to do with the excess. Nowhere in de novo lipogenesis is there ever any consideration for calories. You could theoretically be in a calorie deficit, and if you're eating a very high carb diet, you'll still be getting so much glucose in the body that your body has to undergo de novo lipogenesis. Similarly, the same thing can happen whether you're at maintenance as well. You could be at maintenance and still be gaining fat because of de novo lipogenesis, and obviously the same can happen in a surplus as well. Calories are basically just irrelevant to de novo lipogenesis, which basically disproves the calorie model as being the gospel of weight gain and weight loss. The second scientific proof that the calorie model is flawed is through something called insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is somewhat similar to de novo lipogenesis and also involves glucose in the blood. So again, when you eat carbs, your blood glucose goes up, and again, the body does everything to try and get that glucose out of the blood. And one of the other things it does is the pancreas starts to release insulin to try and curb that blood glucose spike. The higher amounts of glucose that you consume, the more your body needs to produce insulin, because your body starts to form a sort of resistance to the insulin, where the insulin does not do as effective of a job at removing that glucose from the blood any longer. The thing with insulin is it's a pretty sensitive hormone, and in excess, it becomes a fat storing hormone. And insulin will most definitely be in excess if you're eating a bunch of carbs and you're insulin resistant, because your body is again having to produce more and more of it to try and get the glucose out of the blood. Not only do excess insulin levels mean that you'll preferentially store fat on your body, excess insulin also doesn't allow your body to tap into its pre-existing fat stores. So this is a kind of double whammy. Not only will you store more fat, you actually can't use your pre-existing fat for energy either. So you're just kind of screwed all around. So again, just like de novo lipogenesis, insulin resistance and the fat accumulation associated with it has nothing to do with calories. You can be in a deficit, you could be at equilibrium, you could be in a surplus. It doesn't matter, because all insulin resistance cares about is the amount of glucose in your bloodstream and how much insulin the pancreas needs to release in order to curb that. And in releasing that insulin and having those excess levels of insulin, that is where the fat gain will come from. It has nothing to do with calories. The third and final scientific proof that the calorie model is flawed lies in testosterone. We all know that testosterone levels are very important for your body composition overall. We know that higher levels of testosterone will bias lean muscle, whereas lower levels of testosterone will bias fat gain. So again, this difference in testosterone levels has nothing to do really with calories. Calories have little to no bearing on your testosterone level. What has a bearing on testosterone levels is what kinds of food you're eating, the food quality. Are you eating the kinds of foods that'll promote testosterone production or not? For example, there could be 2 people who are on a supposed 300 calorie surplus, but the only difference being that one person eats all the right kinds of foods that'll boost their testosterone production, while the other person can just be eating a bunch of carbs and junk and whatever bullcrap that's gonna lower your testosterone levels. Both are on the same surplus, but are they gonna have the same results? No, obviously not, because one's going to have a lot higher testosterone and his body is going to be more primed to and is going to go towards building muscle while losing fat, while the person with the low testosterone is going to be more primed and is going to go towards just storing fat, even though they're both eating the same 300 calorie surplus. These three proofs show that the calorie model is basically worthless. It doesn't really matter how many calories you're eating because it is your hormones that, for the most part, dictate how your body composition is gonna be and look, way more than the amount of calories you can eat will ever do. This is why I always say it's much more important about what you eat rather than how much you eat. Food quality is way more important than food quantity. If you focus on food quality, you'll be able to build muscle while losing fat. You'll get both the benefits of a calorie surplus and calorie deficit somehow, supposedly, in one. And it's all just because it's really all dependent on your hormones. On the other end of the spectrum, somebody who doesn't care about their food quality and is just eating a bunch of crap, they're going to store fat even if they're on a deficit. I've explained exactly why they will in this very video. In summary, the calorie model is crap. Focus on food quality and eating the right things. That is going to get you the results you want. If you found this video interesting, and if you want to know what the right kinds of foods are to support your ideal body composition, subscribe to the channel and also visit the link in my description. There you can find my ebook, which goes into a lot more detail on this very topic and talks about which kinds of foods you should be eating if you want to have good hormonal balance both for your health and body composition desires. I also have a coupon code FIRST5. If you input that at checkout, you can get the book for just $5, but there's only one of them in existence. It's for the first person who buys it, so you might want to act fast. Anyways, thanks for watching. Bye.